everyone, Alice here. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing well. I hope you're all having a nice day. I'm saying that because I'm genuinely interested. I want to know, but also because today we're keeping things chill, casual, just a little chat, just you and me. It's going to be a super simple video, hence why I'm in my baggiest t-shirt that I could find because I just wanted to be comfy because I think this is going to be a super nice, super relaxing video. So today what we're going to be doing is going through the Harry Potter questions tag. Now I found this tag on a specific website. There are loads of them out there. Some have 100 questions, some only have a couple. So I'm going to link the specific one that I'm going to be doing below just to give the person credit because I want to make it very clear I did not come up with these questions myself. I'm just going to be answering them as best I can. And I thought that would be a super fun thing to do today. So it would be great if you did a video responding to this, letting me know what your answers are, or put them in the comments below. I'd genuinely be so interested. I'll read every single one because I really want to know what your answers are, because I think there's going to be some interesting responses, let's say. All right, so without further ado, let's just get into the first question, which is, what Hogwarts house are you in? And this is a very easy one to answer. I am a Slytherin through and through. I very much relate to the characteristics of this house, but I also find that when I meet other Slytherins, we tend to have the same values, the same kind of personality, we tend to get on really well, so I definitely consider myself a Slytherin. The interesting thing about this is that I've taken many a sorting quiz, whether official or unofficial, and I am never Slytherin. I most often get Gryffindor. I really do. Like 99% of the time my answer comes back Gryffindor, which is really interesting because personally I think that's the house I would be in the least. I'm not brave, I'm not courageous, and I don't really tend to vibe with those kind of people. I think if I had to choose a second house, it would probably be Ravenclaw, just because I very much do value knowledge. I'm always trying to learn something new, do something new, and I think that's kind of part of their Ravenclaw ethos. And then after that, Hufflepuff. I think all three, Slytherin, Ravenclaw, Hufflepuff, are quite close together. I do think I'm an incredibly loyal person, maybe to a fault. So those three are quite close together, and then Gryffindor is like a million miles away. I don't consider myself a Gryffindor at all, but the internet says otherwise. But no, to answer the question properly, Slytherin. The second question is, what is your patronus? Now, on the Pottermore Wizarding World website, it's an impala, which is quite interesting because apparently that's very rare. And I took it a second time, just randomly a couple of years later, and I got an impala again, and again it said it was an incredibly rare one to get, so I guess it's an impala. I don't really know very much about the animal, but hey, I guess that's cool. The third question is, what is your wand? And I actually have got my laptop here to look at my Wizarding World account because I honestly don't remember, and it's dogwood wood with a unicorn hair core, 10 inches, and unyielding flexibility. And honestly, looking at the picture of it, it's a really ugly wand. I don't like it at all. Unicorn hair, that's pretty cool. Dogwood wood, I'm not sure. I've never looked up what that means, you know, if you've got unicorn hair, what it means about you, etc. But yeah, not super happy with my wand. Question number 4, what would your boggart be? Now, a surface level answer would probably be spiders. That is something I'm pretty afraid of, I'm not gonna lie. But if we're looking a little bit more deeper, it would probably be some kind of representation of fear of failure. That's definitely something that I really struggle with. I tend to not want to try something if I don't think I'm going to be the best at it, which is definitely a problem. So it would be some kind of representation of failure if we're getting super deep. Question number 5, what position would you play in Quidditch? If I'm being perfectly honest, I probably would never make the team. I like sport, I like exercise generally, but I certainly don't think I'd be good enough at anything to be on the Quidditch team. I know I wouldn't want to be keeper in any sport. I always think that's the worst one to play. I think it's the most pressure. I just wouldn't want to do it. A beater, I don't think so. My arms are incredibly weak. I would not have the strength to knock a bludger away. Seeker, you never want to say seeker, do you? Because then you just come across as arrogant. So I guess I'll go for a chaser, which, to be fair, I think is probably what I'd be best at. So I'll be a chaser, why not? What job would you have after leaving Hogwarts? This is an interesting one and one I never thought about before. I think I'd probably want to be a teacher because I don't think I'd ever want to leave Hogwarts. I think I'd want to stay there forever. So I think I'd probably be a teacher, and I think I'd probably end up teaching like Muggle studies or something. Everyone wants to say, you want to say Defense Against the Dark Arts or Transfiguration or what have you. It would probably be Muggle studies or maybe History of Magic. Maybe Professor Binns really did get sick of it and so I take over from History of Magic. Yeah, that's gonna be my answer. I'm gonna be the History of Magic teacher at Hogwarts because I think I would try and make it a lot more interesting than it used to be. Question number 7, which of the Deathly Hallows would you choose? Very, very interesting question. I don't think I'd want the Elder Wand because that's too much power. I think I'd constantly be scared of losing it and misplacing it. I'd be constantly worried people were going to come after me for it. So I think I'll leave the Elder Wand, thank you. The Resurrection Stone I don't want to mess with. That's too much. Things just need to be the way that they are. I think bringing people back brings a whole load of mess. So I guess I'll go for the Invisibility Cloak, which to be fair is pretty cool. No one's ever coming after you for it. At least in the books, no one's ever coming after you for it. You can sneak around wherever you want. Yeah, Invisibility Cloak, obviously. Question number 8, what is your favourite book? And I actually find this one quite difficult. I reread the books once a year, roughly. I'm currently in the middle of my reread at the moment, and it tends to change with every read through that I do. I think it just depends on how I'm feeling at the moment, the time of year I'm reading them. So I found this one quite difficult. But I think my favourite book is probably Order of the Phoenix. It's long enough that you actually get like a lot of detail. It's got a good plot, a lot going on, but you still get those little moments of just like Hogwarts life, which is 100% my favourite part of the books. Again, like I said, it's got a really interesting plot, a lot going on. One of the coolest plots. I love Umbridge. I mean, I hate Umbridge, but like I love her. I just think it's fantastic. It tends to switch between Order of the Phoenix, Prisoner of Azkaban, and Goblet of Fire. It's always a toss-up between those two, but I think at the moment I would say Order of the Phoenix. My least favourite book is probably Half-Blood Prince. I think this is a lot of people's least favourite book, honestly. It's not bad at all. I love it. It's very long, which I know I said I didn't have a problem with the Order of the Phoenix, but I think the thing about Goblet of Fire, Order of the Phoenix is that you never feel like the plot is slowing down, like it's constant, so you don't even really realise it's so long. Half-Blood Prince is a very slow plot. It's very methodical. It's very repetitive in what they're doing. So I do find that I tend to notice how long it is, and I just don't tend to have as much fun with it. That being said, it's got one of the best endings of any of the books, so I'll give it that. My favourite film, it never changes. It's Prisoner of Azkaban. I think it's a bit of a divisive film. Some people love it, some people hate it. I rarely meet someone who thinks it's somewhere in the middle. I love it. I think it was exactly the switch up that was needed in tone and style. I think it's incredibly clever. There's so many videos on YouTube going through its different themes and motifs and the musical score and how it impacts everything and the concept of time and loneliness, and it's honestly one of the most perfect films. I just love it. I love, on a surface level, like the autumnal vibe it gives me. Like, it's such an autumn film. I just think it's so cozy. It introduces, some of my favourite characters, Sirius Black, Remus Lupin. It's perfect. My least favourite film, this does switch up a little bit, but I think it's probably at a push, Deathly Hallows Part 1. It's typically either that or Half-Blood Prince, but at least the Half-Blood Prince, again, has some crazy revelations and some surprises at the end, with Dumbledore dying and Snape being revealed to be the Half-Blood Prince, and it really sets you up to be excited for the last 2 films, whereas Deathly Hallows Part 1 really slows that pace down and, in my opinion, makes you less excited. It's got some amazing stuff. I love the film, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here being like, oh, I hate it. No, like, I love it. But I definitely think it's a bit too slow for me, especially when you think all of this could have been squished, I think, into one longer 3-hour film, personally. Let me know if you think differently in the comments below. Question number 12, who is your favourite character? That's tough. My mind straight goes to Hermione because I think Hermione's amazing. I think she's such a strong female character ever since I was little, since I was 5 and I went to go and see the first film, which was my first exposure to Harry Potter. I immediately, like, I loved her. I think she's amazing and I always will. That being said, I think my favourite character is probably Sirius Black. I just think he's such an interesting character. Like, he's got all those good aspects of him being a Gryffindor, you know, obviously helping Harry, but he's obviously got those darker sides to him, being from the House of Black and, you know, being a bit of a bully when he was at school. I think he's a really interesting, varied character, and I just think he's awesome. I was going to go into some more details and go into some kind of nuanced explanation, but you know what? No, I just think he's awesome. My most hated character is interesting. It's Umbridge, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, in terms of a character that just makes your absolute blood boil. But at the same time, she's kind of one of my favourite characters because she's such a well-written villain, and it's just so clever showing you that, you know, the people you're fighting against aren't necessarily like pro Voldemort. You know, she's not necessarily pro Voldemort, she's just pro her own agenda and getting as much power as possible. And I think that's really interesting. But as a result, she's not my least favourite character. She's one of my favourites because of the impact she has on the books. So I'd say my least favourite character is unfortunately probably Ron. And I say that because it's difficult, because I'm finding it really hard to think of a character that I just really hate and kind of don't like. And I do like Ron. I think he's really important to all the books. I wouldn't get rid of him at all. That being said, I'm personally pro killing him off. If you don't know, J.K. Rowling was considering killing him off in the last couple of books somewhere, and I personally think that would have actually been really good for the plot. So I do think that would have been useful, and I don't particularly like his character in the films at all. They give a lot of his lines in the books to Hermione in the films, which kind of eradicates Ron's purpose. The whole point of Ron in the Golden Trio is that he knows a lot about the wizarding world, so that's what he's giving them. He's explaining things to Harry and Hermione all the time about how things work, and he doesn't do that in the films, and as a consequence he just kind of comes across as moany and not really needed. This is me really stretching, by the way, just to kind of think of an answer, but yeah, I think it's probably Ron. Favourite teacher? Well, it would have to be Lupin, I think. You know, he was clearly the best Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. If he'd been allowed to stay, you know, I think he would have been the Dada teacher the whole way through. He's just awesome. He's such a good support system to the Golden Trio. I just think he's absolutely fantastic. He's clearly the best teacher. If we're talking teachers that stay the whole way through, I mean, it's clearly McGonagall in that case. She's awesome. I love that she's still a strict teacher. Like, she is that kind of authority figure that you need to be as a teacher, but at the same time she's always helping out the Golden Trio, and she clearly thinks they're awesome. Least favourite teacher? Well, if we're talking about actually being a teacher, then I mean, it's Umbridge. Despite me saying she's one of my favourite characters, which she totally is, if we're talking about being an effective, supportive teacher, then it's her. I mean, she literally physically tortures her students, so pretty easy. If you've got a different answer for least favourite teacher, I'd love to know. I mean, Snape's obviously a contender as well. I mean, he'd probably be my second, so I suppose that one would make sense too. And final question, number 16, unpopular opinions about the series. I'll just stick to one because I think that could be like a whole video in and of itself. But I think I'd probably have to go with, well, kind of what I said before about just Ron being not there the whole time. I think could have been a really, really interesting twist. But just to go with something a little bit different, I think I really like the epilogue in the sense that I like that you got to see, I think doing an epilogue is a good idea, to see that, you know, they're happy, Voldemort's gone, things have moved on. I really, really like that. But I think the epilogue should have been different. I don't necessarily like that everyone was just paired off with each other. Everyone was just married with children, despite the fact they would have only been like 25 or something. I think it would have been far more interesting and satisfying to see them successful in whatever they're doing. And if you want to pair some people up, fine, but I think that might have been a more interesting series finale. It's not a TV show. I think that would have been more interesting. And if you were going to pair someone up, I personally think even in the books, despite the fact Ginny's far more fleshed out in the books, which I think is great, I personally think Harry and Luna would have been a much more interesting, successful couple, because they've got all those shared experiences, they've been through really similar things, and I think they just had much more of a connection, both in the books and the films, than Harry and Ginny ever did. So let me know. Maybe controversial, maybe not. I'd love to know in the comments below what you think about that, what your unpopular opinion is. And as that's the end of my questions, I'd love to know in general, you know, what would your answers be to these questions? Anything you completely disagreed with that I said? Anything you completely agreed with? Let me know. I'd love to hear it. In the meantime, please check out all the other videos that I've done on my channel. I've only done a couple, I'm brand new, but I'm really happy with the content I'm putting out. That being said, I'm still learning, and I'd love to get an idea if there's something you think I should be changing, something doing differently, something you like. Please let me know. I'm more than happy to take on feedback. That being said, it would be great if you could subscribe so you can see my future content coming out. I've got some really exciting things coming up that I'm super excited to show you. And with that, I will be off. So I will see you next time. Bye.